All right, so let's go over everything factually, and then start plugging in what we started saying yesterday. Okay, so the Gemara says as follows: the case is a case of the Chassan. Now, again, when I use the term Chassan, I'm including the Shoshvinin and the Bnei Chuppah. All right, so when I say Chassan, it's everybody. All right, so the Chassan, the attendees, and the Bnei Chuppah are. So the Gemara says are pater from Sukkah. So the Gemara says, why are they pater? Why should they be pater? All right, so first the Gemara says, I have an easy solution. Let them eat and be misameach in the sukkah. Easy solution. The Gemara says, no, ain't simcha ela b'chuppah. The Gemara says, fine. So how about eat in the sukkah and be happy in the chuppah? Right? Because all you said was ain't simcha ela b'chuppah. Right? So why can't you split them up? Eat. Because remember, we're talking about we're not talking about the day of the wedding. We're talking about Shiva Yimei Mishta. This isn't chassan pre-wedding, because if it's pre-wedding, it's asuk mitzvah pater mitzvah. This is, hold that for a second, but it's post-wedding. But he's in Shiva Yimei Mishta. Okay? So now, he's supposed to be happy. So the Gemara says, maybe eat sukkah, be happy in chuppah. The Gemara says, no, ein simcha ella b'makom suda. So that's not going to work either. Okay? So the Gemara says, fine. Then the Gemara says, well, weird solution. The Gemara says, well, okay, we have an easy solution. Let's combine sukkah with chuppah. In other words, what should you do? The guy should go ahead and all with his buddies and just, back then they used to build the sukkahs on their roofs. Okay? So all you have to do is, you go ahead and just make that your chuppah. Right, done. So the Gemara says, no, there's a machlokas about why you can't do that. Either you're going to tell me it's a problem of Sar Chassan. What's Sar Chassan? So a sukkah is a public, well, okay, we've got to be careful. It's open, okay? There's 3 walls, right? But it's an open area in the back. And he's going to feel uncomfortable being misameach with his wife, okay? He's not going to be comfortable doing that because he's going to feel like it's an open area, right? So then that's one reason why you can't use it. The other side says that no, because of yichud. Now what's the problem with yichud? The problem with yichud is that it's a small sukkah. The sukkahs are small. And what ends up happening is that, let's say it's the chassan, his friend, and the kala, right? The chassan has to go to the bathroom. You got a problem with yichud? All right, someone asked about well, what if it's open? Forget that. That's a good question. But just because it's open, that was you, right? Just because it's open doesn't mean it can't be yichud. Okay? The Gemara says, what's the nafkamina? All right, so the Gemara says the nafkamina is if you have a big sukkah. So if you have a big sukkah, even this side would agree, Abaye, right? Even Abaye would agree in a big sukkah that it wouldn't be a problem of yichud. Okay? Clear? Does everyone understand that? Okay? Now you got Rav Zera. Rav Zera says a funny thing. Rav Zera ate in his sukkah, right, and was mesameach in his chuppah, right? And he said I'm very happy doing this because I could do both. Okay? Very happy doing this. Now the question is, how do you understand Rav Zera relative to the Gemara, which we're saying for the first time now? How do you understand Rav Zera relative to the Gemara? Is he arguing? In other words, well, hold on a second. So according to Meiri, all right, the Meiri according to the Rush, I know, so I'm telling you now, I'll make it easy. The Rush, there's a little bit of a spoon feeding, but the Rush holds, it's a machlokas. The Rush holds that Rav Zera is arguing on the Gemara, okay? Whereas according to the Meiri holds the Chachila. Now we have to understand, Pisvara, what the two sides, that we haven't done yet, what these two sides are. Now that's Gemara 1, okay?
Wait, Rush says what about that?
The Rush says it's actual machlokas. Rav Zera, right? Versus saying it's like a kiyum.
He's just saying, so you're saying that who's l'chachila?
Now that's all Gemara number 1. Okay, now Gemara number 2, all right, says next case, the chassan and shoshvinin. Okay, so again, this time I have to actually use both terms, chassan and the attendees. All right, so Gemara says Tanakama holds they're pater, they, meaning the chassan and the shoshvinin, are pater from both. What I write here?
Tefillin.
I'm sorry, they're pater from tefillah and tefillin, but they're chayiv in Kriya Shema. Okay? And then Rosh Hashanah says no. He splits up the chassan and shoshvinin. He says 2 separate things. Okay? And then he says the chassan is the chassan is pater, right? Which would seem to imply what? Pater from what?
Everything.
From everything. Well, if he's pater from Kriya Shema, he's pater from everything, right? And the shoshvinin are chayiv. Okay? Are the chayiv in everything. So you have a double machlokas. You have a machlokas. These two.
You mean all is in all 3?
I still don't.
Yeah, in other words, who? In other words, he holds a chassan's pater from, well, either all 3 or all mitzvos, whereas the shoshvinin are chayav.
Yes, is it all mitzvos?
In all mitzvos, yeah. Let's make it simple for now. Say all mitzvos, okay? The Ba'amor says like this. The Ba'amor says, he says, the machlokas between Tanakama and Rav Shila. Okay, now he's going over here. Okay, He's targeting the second Gemara first. It says in that Gemara, right? Les lahu oseg mitzvah pater min mitzvah. All right, it's not an issue of oseg mitzvah pater min mitzvah. All right, the lo garsina baha uvechol mitzvos amuros b'torah. The lo kaimelan kavasayu ela kastam and masizin the tan shulchin mitzvah torah min sukkah. The chol oseg mitzvah pater min mitzvah. Uv mitzvah tarid ba. All right, the time I'll explain what he's saying in a second. The time the Tanakama the partal hu lechasan v'chol bnei chuppah min atfila min atfilin mishum de boy kavani yisir rasa ushchicha shechros the simcha the kolos rosh bein b'sul bein b'almana. Okay, so he says. So what is he saying? The Balmor is saying that our second Gemara is not talking about asuk mitzvah pater mitzvah, because if it was asuk mitzvah pater mitzvah, then the chasan and the shoshvinin, right, they're pater from all mitzvahs. But it says tefillah and tefillin. So the question is, so why only tefillah and tefillin? Because the Balmor explains those require a higher degree of kavana, and as well, what are you in a state of when you're doing this Shiva Yimei Mishta?
Drunk.
You're drunk. You're in a state of shechrus. Just drunk. So you're in a state of shechrus. So shechrus prevents you from being engaged in tefillah and tefillin. So that's how you learn this Gemara. Okay?
Rashi says also.
Amir's right. In other words, the first Gemara is going to be dealing with asuk mitzvah pater mitzvah, but in what context? In other words, it's dealing with asuk mitzvah pater mitzvah based on Tosfos' way of learning, which is that if I can do both, I should be able to do both. How do I know, according to Balmor, how do I know that's the way to read the Gemara? Because what's the Gemara's first move? The Gemara says he's pater from Sukkah. The Gemara says why? He should eat and be happy in the Sukkah. Meaning what? Meaning that if I can accomplish both mitzvahs, I should do it. Right? And that was Tosfos' way of learning all along. If I can accomplish both mitzvahs, I should do it. All right? Is that clear?
We didn't do that Tosos, right?
Just to be clear. So the first step here, the first step in this is to say the Gemara's question, according to Balmor's way of learning, the Gemara's first question is a beautiful question. Why not just say I should eat and be happy in the Sukkah? Because I'm able to accomplish both. Right? There's nothing impeding. There's no impediment here. I could do both. Right? So what's the Gemara's answer? Ein simcha ela b'chuppah. Meaning what?
Meaning that the sukkah is not the levels of.
Well, okay, but why not? What is that telling you? What?
You might be skipping it.
No. Say it.
Okay, the simcha and chuppah is ideal.
Right. Okay. Good. So this is an important point. This is teaching us an idea in asuk mitzvah pater mitzvah, meaning that as applies to here, meaning that when are you pater from the other mitzvah? You would think that as long as I can accomplish the Maisa mitzvah, so then I'm not pater. In other words, I can do both. I can. Am I yotzei my chuppah, my simchas chuppah in the sukkah? For sure. You're yotzei, right? So I could do both. I'm yotzei. I've fulfilled my obligation. I'm good. But it's not. But the thing is, Ein Simcha El B'chuppah teaches you that it's not the ideal. So asuk mitzvah pater mitzvah is not a din in a Maisa, or I should say, it's not just a Maisa, but it has to be the Maisa done in the ideal. Meaning that when am I pater from the other mitzvah? If I do the other mitzvah, I can't do the ideal way of doing that other mitzvah. If I can't do the ideal way of doing the other mitzvah, that produces a patur. The Gemara is saying, our svara yesterday was as follows. You would think asuk mitzvah pater mitzvah, when does it kick in? It only kicks in if I can't, if in doing Maisa B, meaning in the second mitzvah, somehow it'll damage Maisa A. Or I can't do Maisa A as a result of doing Maisa B.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. But here, I could do both. A guy could eat and be happy in the sukkah. So the Gemara says, no, ain't simcha ela b'chuppah, which means that, doesn't mean that there's no simcha outside the chuppah. It means that the state of simcha that you want to achieve during Shiva Yimei Mishta is achieved in the chasan's bias, right? So now, if I went ahead and left the bias to go to the sukkah, would I be able to achieve that high level of simcha? No. So that's why I'm pater from the mitzvah of sukkah. That's why I'm pater from the mitzvah of sukkah. So now the Gemara says, okay, so now we have an easy solution. Eat in the sukkah, right, and be happy in the chuppah. So we're going to split it. Okay, we're going to split up the simcha experience. Okay, so now I'm going to use simcha as like a category. Simchas Yimei Mishta, and there's two areas in there. There's simcha and suda. Okay, is that clear? In other words, in the very simchas Yimei Mishta, we have two phenomena. There's happiness and eating. Okay, and that's exactly what the Gemara says. The Gemara says, okay, well, fine, we can't do both in the sukkah, but why not split it? Eat in the sukkah, right, and be happy in the chuppah. You'll dance and do whatever happiness entails. You will accomplish that in the chuppah, right? Problem solved. The Gemara says, no, ein simcha ela makom suda. What do you mean by makom suda? Not exactly where you eat, but in other words, if you don't have the meal in the chuppah, right, it won't be that very happy meal that you're supposed to have. It won't be the ideal happiness. Okay? So what's that answer? This is what we started defining yesterday. So what's that? The Havmina here is saying, it's saying that you can eat in the sukkah and be happy in the chuppah. Okay? What that must mean, okay, is that, as you can separate them out, okay? So then what you would say is that simcha, the idea of simcha is really it's a kiyum in the gavra. Okay, meaning what? Meaning, again, you have simcha and suda, right? So shibas simcha shimei mishta, right? You have that there's a kiyum in the gavra of simcha and a kiyum in the gavra of suda. There's two separate things he's involved in. Okay, two separate events. Suda, simcha. And there's separate kiyumim altogether. There's two separate kiyumim in this overall category.
Without one, you can't have the other.
That's the maskana. The Havin is saying that they're two separate experiences. There's a gavra who's happy, and there's a gavra who's eating. Right? Two separate experiences, two separate kiyumim. The maskana says that no, that really, and that's what you were saying, Yaakov, really that you see that in the Maisa Achila itself, it results in simcha. In other words, simcha, it's not simcha shimei mishta and there's suda and simcha, it's that there's simcha shimei mishta. It's a phenomenon. And everything you do in the simcha shimei mishta is an action of simcha. All right? Of course, how's that expressed? Through suda. But the point is, everything you do is an action of simcha. Is that clear? Okay, so that's the Gemara's next step. Okay? Okay. Now comes the final move. Now the Gemara says, okay, well, why not combine sukkah with chuppah? All right, so this is the point where we left off yesterday. What's this move here?
That's the place.
Well, the Gemara's making concession. What's the concession the Gemara's making?
You should try to do both.
And this is, see, in this situation, before you enter into this machlokas, there's one little mini step you have to put in here. A mini step. Okay, what would you say that is? What the problems that they're dealing with here? The problems that
you should try to do both.
I'm sorry. The problems that these guys. No. We're done with that though. No, the Gemara is saying you can do both. We could do both right here.
Right. But you
right.
Should do both.
Well, why not?
Why?
Well,
Why not?
Run into the other problem.
Oh, right.
Okay, but what kind of problems are these?
Practical.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Yeah.
In other words, the Gemara says conceptually, you're right. Checkmate. This will be a perfect conceptual solution. You can combine both together. Done. End of story. But you're going to run into practical problems. These are practical issues. They're not conceptual issues, they're practical issues. Right? They're practical concerns. So what's the difference between these two practical concerns? You're right. So you guys are targeting the issues, right? You're trying to categorize the issues, which is a perfect first good step in methodology. You're saying this seems to be an issue in simcha. This seems to be an issue in what? In situation. Okay. Now let's go to the next step. Okay. Let's push further than that. Okay. If you're saying that, so I'd ask, look, so now what's the difference? Why would you say one? Why would you say the other? What's the question they're both dealing with? There's one question. All right. Once you know what the question is, then you can start seeing how the two possibilities. So I'll tell you what the question is.
Can you be Yotze? Well,
no, they're cool being Yotze with both. They don't care about that.
Well,
that's conceptual. We're doing it practical now.
It's the Tarachos and
the question to me is, so now it's a very simple question. What's the source of the practical issue? What's the source?
People?
Okay.
Well, it really comes down to the sukkah.
Which one comes down to the sukkah?
Yichud does.
Yichud does. Thank you. How? Good. Meaning what? Meaning what?
Without if he wasn't in the sukkah, there would be an issue with
That's
The
what
situation
Yichud is talking about a room.
Well, okay. What kind of makom is a chuppah?
Because
It's private place.
No.
Well,
Malcolm Simcha.
Which means it's what? It's not a public. It's public.
It's somewhat
Okay.
public. It's not.
It's more. Well, people are coming in and out.
Open.
Right. Exactly.
There's less of a chance of a wife being alone with someone else.
Fine, I agree, but we got to get out of the problem like this. The problem we're facing with this is that what are the odds that this Yichud situation will emerge? Whenever you're faced with a Gemara that presents a probability issue, you got to be very careful because, what we're really concerned about that, so take a poll and find out if that really happens or not. No, what the Gemara is saying is the concern is like this. There's only two areas where the problem can emerge from. Either it's emerging from the makom or it's emerging from the gavra. The only two possibilities. If is the makom not roi for sukkah, for a chuppah, or is it that he is not going to be happy in there? Okay, that's it. So if it's a question of makom, right? As long as the makom, okay, has the same characteristic as a chuppah, right? Then it's okay. What's that characteristic?
House. Public.
public. Okay? But once it's private, now it's a different makom. In other words, in the framework of, it's beautiful, and I think, in the framework of this whole business of Shivas Mei Mishta, right? In that framework and the Patur from Sukkah, the question is, if I combine the Sukkah with the Chuppah, okay? In order for these two phenomena to coexist, to seamlessly coexist, meaning one on top of the other, like they're one, right? It has to be that they share one critical feature, public. Once this is private and this is public, you can't say they're one. It's not one makom, practically. It's not one makom. Okay? The other side says, no, it's a din in the gavra. No matter how big the sukkah is, it's irrelevant. He'll never be happy in the sukkah. Okay? Now comes Rav Zera. So,
Wait, did we finish
How come no one relies on?
yeah, we finished this. This we finished.
What was it?
So okay, so the question is, what's the source of the practical concern? Is it a problem in the makom, or is it a problem in the gavra? Okay, and that's a nice simple categorization. Now you have Rav Zera. Okay, so what I'm going to do to make it easier, Rav Zera's, if you follow the flow here, what point is Rav Zera stopping at? He's stopping at this point, right?
Two.
Number 2. Eat sukkah, right? Simcha chuppah.
Yeah.
Okay, so he ignores
Doesn't knock him soda.
all this stuff right here. There you have this. Okay, and then you have a machlokas about whether it's a chafila or is it a machlokas. So how do you approach this?
Oh, it was very nice.
Well, what's his idea? There's a kiyum. We were saying before. There's the kiyum suda and the kiyum simcha.
Right.
So he holds. That's true. That's what he holds. He doesn't buy that they're one idea. So machlokas. In other words, I'll put it a different way. We learn this as a havim and maskana. He's learning this as a machlokas.
Yeah.
You could do that. This is the harder side because he's agreeing in principle with this that you shouldn't eat he's agreeing in principle b'di'eved, you're pater from sukkah, right? But he's just saying, but I was able to do this. Why? So what's the idea? What's he saying? And then this is another modification of asa mitzvah pater mitzvah. But really more of the idea of what pater mitzvah means. So that's really the question. This is lashon. It sounds like it is because he says ana achli b'sukkah v'chadi b'chuppah, which means what? I ate in the sukkah and was happy in the chuppah. And Rashi explains. He says.
He's happy in his heart.
Right. Tarti shtei mitzvah sukkah mitzvah nitzah. Right. Because I was able to do both mitzvahs. Yeah. Right. So right, because he says so he was happy being able to form both mitzvahs, meaning that whatever. Now this is the strange part. Okay, and I don't have an answer to this, but he's somehow, I don't know how you could do this, but he's saying, let's pretend for a second, okay, let's pretend. It's the only way I can put this. Okay, let's pretend that sukkah equals. Let's say there's we're looking for 100% simcha. Okay, sukkah equals 50. Let's say, and chuppah equals 100. Okay, but let's say mitzvah equals 50. So what he's saying is that I can achieve simchas chuppah in the sukkah because I'm doing the mitzvah. Because 50 equals 100.
What?
Let's see if you can figure that out.
Wait, can you say that again?
In other words,
If it's subjective all around, then fine, then you can say that.
Right.
But if you're going to try to apply some level of objectivity to this,
right.
I don't see any
Right. What we're positing is that. No, I agree. I won't disagree with that. We're positing the following. We're positing that halacha looks at simcha as a halachic phenomenon. So therefore, in that context, the question is, can you quantify it? So if you can, then Rav Zera's chachila position would make sense because normally you can achieve the ideal, meaning the 100% simcha in the chuppah. That's where you're going to achieve the ideal. Rav Zera was able to achieve more than that because he achieved some level of simcha with the sukkah, and then some level of simcha with the fact he's able to perform the mitzvah. Together, that gives you a greater simcha than you would have in the chuppah. That seems to be the idea Rav Zera is proposing. Question the Ran's going to have to face. The Ravid doesn't address the Ran, but his position is clearly defending the Ran. What you're going to have to face if you hold like the Ran holds if I'm asuk in one mitzvah, the other mitzvah ceases to exist. If that's the case, what is so troubling about our first Gemara? What's troubling about the Gemara? Who wants to read? Go for it. Yeah, but it's last day, and someone else is reading tomorrow. Okay, go. So the Ravid is on the Oz V'Hadar edition, Lamed Beis. The Ravid says. The Ravid's move is that. Who said anything about asuk and mitzvah here? Right? There is no asuk and mitzvah.
It's like tard.
Right? No. What do you mean tard?
I'm saying it's like where
in like by the
Oh, right, but Tard works when you're a chassan.
I know that, but I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
the same
yeah.
thing.
Oh, right, it wouldn't work here.
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's not a case of asuk, so why would it be pater?
Star.
Mitzvah. So this whole Gemara is not talking about any asuk mitzvah pater mitzvah because he's not defining this asuk as asuk a mitzvah. So what is it? It's mitzvah. This is all one problem mitzvah. All right. So you have to like literally look at this Gemara in a completely different way. So keep going. So the Ravid says,
Where are we?
Mishum mitzvahhu the elo.
Yeah, the elo chadu bahadi chasan kol shivas.
Mitzdarin, haim, v'chasan. In other words, if he's not able to celebrate if he can't be happy in the chuppah, so he's going to be mitzdair the entire time. The entire shiva is going to be mitzdair.
Okay. Misham hachi.
We'll get to that. If he's forced to be in the sukkah, he's going to be mitzdair. Keep going.
Misham hachi, which is not what that is.
No, because of this.
What is it? That was-
Mishumachi chayavim haim b'chol mitzvos.
Oh, it really was Misham hachi.
Shechos. Okay, so you got to be careful what the Rav is doing, but what he's saying is beautiful. That's why move down to this Gemara.
Yeah.
That's why here, right? Why it makes a lot of sense to say that the Chasan and the Shoshvinan, or the Chasan, whatever the case is, of course, the Balmor had to learn that Tefillah and Tefillin are like these unique exceptions, right? But he's saying no. He's saying they're what do you call? They're not asuk mitzvah. They're chayiv in every mitzvah. Right? They're chayiv in every mitzvah. The only reason why they're pater and tefillin is also going to be because of shikros. You understand that difference? In other words, according to the Balmor's way of learning, he's going to say that down here. He's going to say that they're really pater from all.
There was a mitzvah.
I'm saying they're also mitzvah.
But
They
since
could
they
do
can't be mitzvah
right.
in these-
Right. They're chayiv in all the mitzvahs, but they can't do these two. Right? Here he's saying no. Here he's saying that. You understand? It's just an issue of tefillah and tefillin. Right? That's what he's saying. He says. "Mishum hachi chayavim heim b'chol mitzvos." They're chayiv in all mitzvos. Chutz me'elu mishum shechor subizon the tefillin.
I've been Succah.
Right. Keep going. Shikar al yispal.
Right. Lahainu de mekav pinyanon lichlu b'sukkah lichli b'sukkah.
But now you have to appreciate why you have to always be on your game, because now he just switched back to this Gemara. Now the fact that the Gemara here asks the kasha of lichlu b'sukkah, why is it asking that?
Right. Because the eos came to mitzvah. Blacked out. What's that word?
Chashvinan le.
Shmina. Eki mekashina.
Right. No, exactly the question. In other words, if you're telling me it's a case of asuk and mitzvah, so why would the Gemara ever ask this question? It would never ask this question, because if it's asuk mitzvah, pater mitzvah, he's pater.
So what,
There's nothing to talk about.
Well, that's.
Oh no, because so that's why.
If you hold us a mitzvah.
So that's how you know he's learning like the Ran. Okay, when you learn Rishonim, sometimes you have to have massive, you have to see everything in front of you. So you know he's learning like the Ran. Why? Because he's saying you can never. Why even ask this question? Well, according to Tosfos, this question makes a lot of sense.
Right.
But according to Ran, it's absurd. Right? It's absurd according to Ran because the other mitzvah doesn't exist. Therefore,
According to Tosfot, it makes sense. Because
you can accomplish both. The Gemara's question is, I could do both. But that means there's two mitzvahs present in front of him. According to Ran, there's only one mitzvah. Chassan.
It's also one of the point
maybe you could say differently, sort of like Tosfot.